One of my favorite new partners is Warrior Salt. We talk on the show. We're trying to empower you to mind, body, and energy. Energy starts with being hydrated. Let me tell you, after a workout and if you're eating a healthy diet, it's hard to get enough sodium. Well, you wouldn't believe it. We were coached for so long that sodium's bad, but that's why I love this partner. No BS, just electrolytes. They keep it simple. We're talking about fruit powder and salt. There's no stevia, no citric acid, none of the bad stuff, just the stuff you need to stay hydrated. That's what I'm doing. I go to a workout, before workout, after workout. You need it both. If you're thirsty, you've waited too long. That's the point. With Warrior Salt, again, it's all about simple hydration that you need without anything that you don't want. One of the official partners here of Vibe Science as we take you to your highest vibe.
There's more people that use alcohol to deal with difficult emotions. And that's when it gets especially tricky, because those are not healthy coping mechanisms. Yes, you are numbing your emotions and you are feeling better. But tomorrow, you're going to feel even worse because you're going to have all those emotions that you haven't processed, plus the hangover. What we think sometimes is not what we really feel like. Our minds are tricking us all the time, and we don't live the world as it is, objectively. We live the world as we are and as we see it with our biased minds. I'm not going to say that it's easy because it's going to be fast. That for me, easy and fast are not equivalent. They're not the same, because again, everything related to mental health and substances and all these things requires a lot of patience, a lot of time, and a lot of effort.
This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're always taking you to your highest vibe. It's about mind, body, energy, as we take you to your best self. We're not the know-it-alls. We're your guides. Chris and I don't pretend that we know everything. That's why we bring the specialists, the people doing the things that are innovating, making you think about the things that you do differently. That's why we have Silvia, Subirana. She is the head of content for Unconscious Moderation. What's up, Silvia?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's lovely to have you. You are a lovely figure. Silvia, I don't know. There's an energy about you that I really like. We talked before. I'm like, Silvia just seems lovely. I don't know about you, Chris. That's just my first impression.
She's got a good vibe. She's got a good vibe. And she's bringing the science with her. So
I know. I like that Sylvia's a little younger too. It's like, there's like, I don't know, some hip.
We're going international again. That's always cool.
Yeah. Spain. She's in Spain. What part of Spain are we in, Sylvia?
Barcelona. I live in the city.
Wow. Hello.
Barcelona.
Exactly.
We are
Barcelona.
trendy and everything.
Yeah.
What's happening today, Sylvia?
Yeah, not much. It's very warm in here, so just enjoying the warm weather and the sun.
Exactly. Yeah, it's got to be hot in Miami, Chris. It's toasty here in South Carolina.
Yeah, it's steamy. It's like a sauna outside, but I'll take it over snowfall any day.
Yeah.
And, I'm a warm lover myself. It's lake season down here in the South. But Silvia, talk to me about unconscious moderation. What are we talking about today?
So Unconscious Moderation is an app that we've developed with a team of clinical psychologists and people expert in mental health to help people rewire their relationship with alcohol. Not necessarily quit, but learn to reduce it or completely quit, depending on the preference. It's
really interesting. You made a comment before the episode that's very true, that sort of alcohol is everywhere. that was the observation. And I am 5 days removed myself, which may not sound like a lot, but I found myself drinking every day. And I'm like, I need to get on the other side of not drinking, like whatever that is, to see what it's like. But it sort of is everywhere. And I think there's been a conscious movement on some level by people to find, the other side of not drinking. I know, Chris has been very vocal and honest about his journey in that realm, but it is fascinating how proliferated it is, right? How it is everywhere.
Yeah, it is. Like, if you turn on the TV, people are drinking in like movies and series. And if you go in the street, you see alcohol everywhere in every possible setting, with families, with friends, like everywhere. And it's just mad when you think about it, because it's something that is, well, slowly killing us, right? And other drugs are illegal, but this one is legal and is acceptable everywhere. And normally you're even the weirdo if you don't drink. So that is what blows my mind, because it's that level of accepted, like.
Yeah. And I mean, it becomes like, it's funny. We've had so many people on time. I feel somewhat like I know what I'm talking about now with some of this stuff, but the programming that's happening kind of at all times. And we program ourselves in a lot of ways based on cultural norms and things like that. But there's this kind of conscious unconsciousness of programming happening to us at all levels. Chris, you've talked about this a lot. I know is, you know.
Oh, I love this topic. We're in my forte. Yeah, I mean, I think my own experience with alcohol, right? It's been 5 years now, but previous, it was such a part of my life in our culture, especially growing up in our movies, right? Like, I remember idolizing like movies like American Pie or Wedding Crashers, all these hardcore party movies. And you don't realize it, but essentially the root of a lot of the movie is partying and alcohol and drugs. So I know that, like, when I went to college, like, I wasn't thinking, what am I studying? I was thinking of all these movie scenes I had seen in binge drinking and partying. It was never anything but that. And I had a conversation this weekend, actually, with some friends, kind of what you said, Silvia, of alcohol being legal versus, you know, something like marijuana, right? Where just looking at the health differences, and not to say one's better than the other, but why is one looked at safely and one so demonized, when we know kind of from a health standpoint, if you were to choose those two, like, we have no recorded ever in the history of time any overdoses from marijuana. But any given weekend with alcohol, you have DUIs, drunk driving, violence, you know, etc. So I'm excited we're having this conversation, and I'm excited that we have people like you that are bringing technology out there. Because I know for me, like, I've used an app to count my sobriety days, you know, but it was kind of a weird thing that only like rehab kids knew about. Like, my average friends definitely weren't tracking their non-drinking days on their apps on their phone. But now this has definitely become more of a conversation, right? Where, like Ryan said, I have a lot of friends that are kind of just reevaluating that relationship with alcohol, not because they were like me and kind of got into a lot of trouble and stuff like that, but more of just kind of, all right, why do we operate like this? Like, why do we drink every day and think this is just normal? Right? So I'm stoked. I love this.
Yeah. And for me, like, it was literally like that. I never had, I would say, a problem with alcohol. I never drank too much, or I was too dependent on it. But I started drinking like everybody does. Like, you grow up and that's what everyone is doing. So you do it too, right? Because you just want to fit in. And I didn't even think about it. And I started doing it. And I was forcing myself each social situation that I was in, because in Spain is the legal age is 18, so it's accessible even like younger than in the US. So I would go to bars and clubs and all that, and I wouldn't even be thinking of the possibility of not drinking, because nobody else was thinking about that, you know. Mm-hmm. But then eventually I realized that alcohol was not it was not sitting well in my stomach, because I've had a lot of gut issues. Not only because of alcohol, but it was just like a sum up of things. And alcohol was one of the things that was messing up my system. And then when I stopped drinking, I reduced it. And then I eventually quit, because I was like, this just doesn't make sense for me to keep drinking. And I've never looked back, because I felt my body that was way less inflamed. I was feeling more energetic, and I actually learned a lot from myself. I thought a lot about what having fun meant for me, because as you said before, Chris, we idolize these movies where everyone is having fun because they are drunk or drugged or both. So I think there's this idea that if you want to have fun, especially going out with friends, maybe not in a club, but also in a bar, you need to have that drink or two or a whole bottle. But not even that. Sometimes even in like barbecues or football games, you have to drink to have fun. That's what socially we get, right? That's the idea. But that's not true at all, because that's what I challenged back then. And then I realized what I enjoyed doing and what I didn't enjoy doing, and how I enjoyed spending my time and how I didn't want to spend my time. So I started to be a bit more selective with the situations that I was in.
A lot of truth there to unpack from a very wise 20-something-year-old.
Yeah.
I'll start with, it's so interesting how fate would have it, like you having perspective on this the last 5 days and doing things with like my kids and hanging out. And that I would normally, how you define fun and interest in those things is very fascinating. Like it seems simple, but it's actually pretty deep.
It's hard.
Like it's because we did some activities with my kids this past weekend, and normally we went and played. It's called pickleball. I don't know how big that is in Spain. It's big in the US, but we went and played with the kids. And normally I would have hung out, had 5 beers, played with the kids, but absolutely, daddy catching a buzz or hanging out, and not because I'm getting wasted, not being irresponsible per se, but my definition of fun in that moment would have had alcohol tied to it. And not having alcohol tied to it, I was more focused on the moment with my kids instead of getting my next beer, every 20 minutes or however long it might have been. And it's really interesting how you start to reframe what your interests are, what matters, and sort of separating yourself from, the substance. And it wasn't difficult, by the way, for me. I haven't had, I wasn't on the deep end, and I haven't been having shakes or anything like that. So I'm sure there's a chemical thing involved with it, but I think you really nailed it with that redefining what fun means, and that it doesn't always have to involve, another substance, even when it's been historically kind of couched with that sort of activity. That there's still fun and interest and things that to be had, but it also will make you start to think about your time differently. I love that aspect, Chris.
This whole time I've been thinking of, I remember getting sober and kind of like, what do I even like? Like, what am I into anymore? And obviously physical activity was kind of my go-to, like golfing, exercise, whatever. And a lot of those things were things that I did more before I started drinking a lot, before that was the center of all of our activities. Cause even there was a point in high school, right, where I go golfing, but it's really just to go drink a bunch of beers with the boys. Yeah. It was more about the beers and the golf. But like what Silvia said, it becomes a lot clearer. Like now I don't mind going out dancing, right? And I've told you, Ryan, I'm going to start taking dancing lessons this year. Cause I'm like, well, if I'm going to go out, I enjoy the dancing side, but if it comes to just sitting at a dive bar and watching my buddies drink, like if I'm not getting the dopamine and all that release from the alcohol, I'm not in that frequency. Therefore, you realize how much time you waste sitting around just because you have a buzz.
Yeah. Yeah. Silvia, talk to us about unconscious moderation. I know like specifically, what the app does, kind of the history of it, because you mentioned that it sort of started at first with full stop drink, versus, the moderating part.
Yeah. So the initial name was My Dry 30, because even though the idea was always to help people learn how to moderate or quit, we thought that more people would be into quitting. But then when the program was out there, we realized that more people were actually looking to moderate. And then we realized that maybe there are more programs that help you quit rather than the ones that help you moderate. And the ones that help you quit, there's some of them that play with that blame and that guilt, right? And make you feel a bit ashamed of yourself. So that's something that we didn't want to work with. We wanted to be very, very straightforward, never demonize alcohol, never blame anybody for the decisions that they were making. We wanted to be very transparent as well and say, you have these choices and you choose, and anything that you choose will be fine if that's what you want to do, if it's aligned with your values, right? So we just give the tools to the people so they can actually be more in touch with themselves and what they actually want to achieve from all this. So that's why we changed the name from My Dry 30 to Unconscious Moderation to be more aligned with the majority of our users. But again, if people want to use the app to completely quit, that's totally fine. They will have the option. So basically the program is 90 days, and then those first 90 days, you have 30 days. Sorry, from those 90 days, you have the first 30 days that you're not going to drink. Even if you're moderating or not moderating, you are not drinking during the first 30 days. And then on day 30, you decide which path you want to continue. If you want to continue the dry path, then you will continue the same program. It won't really change. But then if you choose the moderating path, then there are some tools that are added to the program. So you learn how to be more conscious of when you drink and why you drink, because the key is always the why. Why, like, what's the reason behind you needing to grab for that drink? Because I feel like when we are younger, as I said before, everything is very social. Like everything is around fun, around being with friends, around going out and all that. But as soon as we start getting older, even though we still drink to have fun, because there's like, I don't know, family barbecues and weddings and all these things where we still drink to have fun, there's more people that use alcohol to deal with difficult emotions. And that's when it gets especially tricky, because those are not healthy coping mechanisms. Yes, you are numbing your emotions and you are feeling better, but tomorrow you're going to feel even worse because you're going to have all those emotions that you haven't processed plus the hangover, right? So we are trying to help people understand that there are many healthy coping mechanisms that can be used instead of reaching for that drink. So, for example, if you had a bad day at work, you don't need to go straight to get that glass of wine. You have many other options, like, I don't know, calling a friend, going for a walk, going to the gym, baking a cake. It really, really depends on what you like doing. And there are so many options, as you were saying, Chris, there's so many options out there that when you are focused on only drinking, you don't see, because it's for you is like cause effect. I'm stressed, then I'm going to drink. I'm going out with friends, then I'm going to drink. And it's automatic, right? So the name Unconscious Moderation bases, it's because the program is based in working with the unconscious mind and the conscious mind, so that we can target those patterns that are unconscious, so then we can be more aware of them and we can actually change them. So those things that were automatic before, like I was stressed, then I used to drink, now can be a bit different, can be broken, and you have a lot more options when you are stressed, so you can deal with those emotions.
Talk about some of the psychology and science that went into developing all of this.
So, because as you were saying just now, what we think sometimes is not what we really feel like. Our minds are tricking us all the time, and we don't live the world as it is objectively. We live the world as we are and as we see it with our biased minds. So I talk to a lot of people that have said, I used to drink a lot and everything was around alcohol. As you were saying before, Chris, everything, all my life was alcohol, and everyone around me would drink alcohol, and it was just, everyone was obsessed with it. And then when I stepped out of this, then I saw a new world. And it's not because the world has changed. It's because your vision has changed. You have looked somewhere else. So I think that we have been very, very conscious of that. And we wanted to work with those patterns that I was talking about before. So basically those 90 days are based on 30 minutes a day where you have different things to do. And then out of those 30 minutes a day, you have 15 minutes where you listen to an audio of hypnotherapy. And I'm going to explain now a little bit more. And then you have 15 minutes of working with the conscious mind where you do journaling, reading, and a little bit of movement. So when I talk about hypnotherapy, people that have never tried it or never looked into it are very, very skeptical, because obviously the movies and the theater have used a lot of hypnosis to do their own shows. Exactly.
We've
yeah.
had a few hypnotists on here too.
Yeah. So that is one thing that is not used. That's only for the show. That's not what we do. So what we do basically is a 15-minute audio is going to bring people to a very deep state of relaxation where they can be more in touch with themselves. All those worries, all that conscious noise, problems, stress, and all that just dials down the intensity, and they can be more in touch with their inner self. That looks exactly the same as any other relaxation or meditation video that they've done. The only difference is that when they're in that deep state of relaxation, you are more open to suggestions. So hypnotherapy is little by little suggesting things that will make you feel better, right? So it's going to make you suggestions about you making choices that are healthier, that are going to make you feel better in general. There's an explanation of the patterns that are behind this, the reasons why you might have chosen all these options. So then little by little, you can understand a bit better how your mind works. And once you know that, once you know what your patterns are and you accept them, that's 50% of the way. Like, you have gone very, very far already. And once you make it conscious, then it's very easy because you know how to actually approach it and target it, right? And again, when I say easy, it's because you have it in front of your face and you can actually work on it. I'm not going to say that it's easy because it's going to be fast. That for me, easy and fast are not equivalent. They're not the same, because again, everything related to mental health and substances and all these things requires a lot of patience, a lot of time, and a lot of effort. So again, this is not going to be like, I'm going to click the fingers and it's going to be done. And I think that that is something that a lot of people struggle with in this society, where we want things right now. If we order something in Amazon, we have it in 2 hours. Like, or if we have, I don't know, a question, we just ask AI and we have it right there, right? So I think nurturing that patience can be very frustrating. But then when you get there and when you get those results that you were hoping, or when you see that you're getting better, it's actually so rewarding because it's something that you have done yourself with all your work. So basically what we do with these two things, combining the conscious and the unconscious work, is for people to get there a bit faster. So again, maybe with only working with the unconscious mind would get you there, I don't know, in 30 days, let's say, just to say a number, will get you there in 30 days. But then when you add the unconscious work with the hypnotherapy, maybe you get there in 14, or maybe you get there in 12. So again, even though you still have to nurture patience and you have to work hard and all these things, you get there faster. So it's a very good tool in this impatient world.
I'm starting to feel this myself, but like the reward of feeling better, like that alone, I think when you start stacking the days, both clarity and the way you feel, it's fascinating. Talking with Silvia with unconscious moderation. Everything, they say Abe Lincoln said everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yeah. Extremes are always bad. Like doing something in extreme or not doing it at all can always be bad. So moderating. Okay. So yeah, drinking alcohol has been proven that even one drop or even one sip of one drink can have a negative effects in your body. But there are so many things out there that has negative effects. Like, I don't know, we binge watch on Netflix, or we scroll on social media, or we do so many things. We eat tons of processed food and sugar, and we do a lot of things that are quote unquote wrong. But everything in moderation doesn't need to be bad, doesn't need to be a bad behavior, doesn't need to be changed, right? The problem is when it gets out of hand, when we eat sugar in every single meal, when we watch Netflix 4 hours a day to numb all of our emotions and not listen to our minds, then yeah, of course. Or when people look at their screen times and it's like 8 hours or 10 hours, that's like 1/3 of your day, right? So that is when we have to understand that there's something going on in there, that people are actually using all those things, or drinking or taking all those things to work or to not work on something that they should work on because they don't want to look in their inner selves.
Yeah. Talk about some of the success stories. I mean, not naming names, but how is this impacting people? What kind of feedback have you guys been getting? Those kind of things.
So the app has been out there for around 7 months now. So obviously we don't have the numbers yet where we see the success like more longer term. We see the success after the program. But we have seen a lot of people that actually learn how to moderate. And it's very, very helpful because that's like exactly what they said, what I was saying before, that they can learn to understand the reason why. So I've had the app targets many different situations and many different people. But one that is very common is younger moms that are very stressed, especially the ones that just divorced. So they feel like they have all the workload from their houses, their kids and everything, and they feel like they're alone. And what do? They drink. That's something that we see quite a lot. And then they feel like they feel ashamed of what they're doing because they feel like they're not present with their kids. They're not doing great at their jobs, and they feel like they are going to explode at some point. So we've had loads of users that came from that background, and then they actually changed this, and some chose to completely quit. And then I've had some people tell me about all their mocktails they're discovering, because right now there are so many different options out there. When I stopped drinking around 7 years ago, there were not many mocktails. Like that was not an option for me. It was like, I don't know, soda or just exactly. And that's it. And I was fine with it. But now I'm like, it's so much easier to choose how to moderate right now, because you can just go and ask for a fancy drink that looks exactly the same like all the other drinks that people around you are having. So if you want to avoid the conversations and the weird looks, you can actually avoid them very easily, So I've had a lot of people tell me that they've been working with, discovering these mocktails, and that has actually been extremely helpful to then avoid uncomfortable conversation or questions.
I think there's probably a lot of people that follow. Everybody's different. I mean, that's the biggest thing doing the show. Chris and I are very different, alike in our drive and our ambition, but different in different ways. But there's all these categories of people, why and how you make decisions and how things make you feel. But I don't know, man. We got to kind of start living and stop putting stuff in our body that's making us die. Literally. It's crazy, Silvia. How did you get so smart being a 20-something-year-old?
Lots of studying, and a lot of it I experienced it myself when I stopped drinking. Around 7 years ago. I'm 28 now, so 21, 22. So I was still going out there, and I don't know, I had to experience all this by myself, and going out to festivals and clubs and stuff like this, because I was 21 and 22. That's what everybody else was doing and what I wanted to do. And learning how to live those situations without drinking when nobody else around me was drinking, because I feel like now there's this movement of younger generations that are actually the ones that are getting legally able to drink or to order a drink. I feel like they are more open-minded, and they are considering to actually choose the path of not drinking. And I see groups of people that all of them have decided to not drink. And that didn't happen 6 or 7 years ago or 10 years ago when I started drinking, that has just started happening now in the past couple years. So I have learned a lot from myself, from my own experience with all this. And then obviously now helping people go through all this process as well has given me a lot of perspectives as well, and in other ages, because I've seen what happens when you stop drinking in your 20s. But then I talked to a lot of people that stopped drinking in the 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s, and they all have different perspectives, different experiences, different fears, because I think the key here is the fear that you have. What are you gonna stop doing, and what are you gonna miss from what you're doing right now? And I think that's what a lot of people hold or stick to, like that fear of, I don't want anything to change. I want to be that fun person, or I want to be able to do everything, or I want to, I don't know, be that cool dad or whatever. Like all these people that I talk to, they all have different fears. And I think every reason why people choose to stay has a lot of power for them to actually not make that change. But I always say that when you're not changing, you're choosing. So you're actually choosing to stay in the situation that you're right now. And that's not going to help you because you are not happy. And if you come to a program like Unconscious Moderation, or you try to make contact with us, you are clearly aware that something is not going on, like not right in your life, and you want to make those changes. But then making that step to actually change them can actually take a while, because it's embracing that that area of no control that we are so scared of.
I'm going to leave it there. Silvia, where can everybody learn more about unconscious moderation and what you guys are up to?
So the website has a lot of explanations. The website is um.app, so um.app. And there's all the program explained there, the people behind it. There's loads of information. So I always encourage people to check the website. And if they want to learn a bit more or download the app and see how it goes, they can find it in Google Play and App Store, Unconscious Moderation, and they will find it. We're also on socials like Instagram, Unconscious Moderation. And yeah, I encourage people to check it out and give it a try. We have a 7-day free trial where people can get a bit in touch with what we do. And then after that is $30. So I think it's quite affordable.
30 a year or one time $30?
So it's a monthly thing, but if it's 3 months, then it's 90 in total. If you want to do the full program, you can choose how long you want it to go for. But again, $30 a month. I used to spend way more when I would drink out.
$3 on one drink.
Exactly.
$1 a day.
Exactly. It's $1 a day. Yeah. So we wanted to make it very affordable for everyone, because there are many programs out there that are very powerful, but they are very expensive and not a lot of people can afford it. But $30 a month, $1 a day, a lot of people can actually afford it, especially if you're going to quit on that drink. So you're actually probably going to be saving money, right? So yeah, but I always encourage people to try the free trial and see if they like it, which I think it's very, very powerful and very useful.
Amazing, Silvia. Yeah. Do you want to hit any personal channels that people can keep up with you, or just mainly Unconscious Moderation? Everything
that I do is through there. So if they contact us through the contact form or Instagram, we're a very small team. So it's like contacting me.
Love it. Any final thoughts, Chris?
Thanks for coming on. I really enjoyed it. And I think this is, it excites me. This is a thing. Like you said, 10 years ago when I went to rehab, it wasn't cool. You know, it was like me and Lindsay Lohan. And now it's like the cool trend is like, don't drink and lift weights with these young kids. So I think, I'm just happy to see people are creating, apps like this and tools to help other people just reevaluate that relationship.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Hey guys, you know where to find us, vibescience.com. You'll find all of the podcasts, all of the episode information from today, the links to Unconscious Moderation, and of course, links to Chris and I if you want to get involved in the show. We love your feedback. Love for you to like, review, and share the show. And again, as Silvia says, if you're not changing, you're choosing. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.